Today, I'm going to share with you an update on my latest online course called Digital Sketchnoting. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Verbal to Visual. I am your host, Doug Neill, and at the beginning of this year, I started working on an online course all about the tablet and stylus tool combination. How to make the most of that hardware plus your app of choice to take visual notes. I encourage you to go check out the video that I made announcing that course to get a broader overview. Today, I want to share with you what we've made so far and what's coming up next. If you've seen that first video, you will recognize this diagram in which I outlined the course development process. At the beginning of the year, we checked off that kickoff webinar stage. We had a great 90-minute conversation full of Q&A and resource sharing. The replay of that, along with timestamps and links, that's all available now. And that was a great conversation to identify the questions that folks like you have about this particular tool set. And I used that conversation and those questions to brainstorm and build the lessons that made up the webinar workshop phase of this course, which is also now complete and available. I delivered that version of this course in the middle of the year over a 9-week period. Each week we had about a 2-hour instructional webinar. The first half was a lesson that I gave, the second half some time for some Q&A. In addition to that instructional session, we also had an office hour session each week. That was a great time for folks to hop in and ask questions about that week's lesson, share their work, and see what others are up to. And again, with all of those webinars, the full replays of the instructional sessions and the office hour sessions are available for you to watch now. And to give you a sense for the flow of that webinar workshop series, here's the course roadmap that we followed. The first unit will be all about tools, which ones to use, what mindset to kind of keep in mind as you select your tools. Then the second unit will be about techniques. This is where we'll look at the specific features that are available within the tablets and the apps that you might use and how you might use them effectively as a sketchnoter. Then in the third unit, we'll look at specific applications, what you might do with your digital sketchnoting skills. And then in the last unit, we'll focus specifically on your digital sketchnoting process. Within the first lesson, I will share the course roadmap, something that looks like this, with maybe whatever changes happen between this iteration and the next. That tends to be the first lesson of every course that I create, just to give folks an overview, let them know where we're going and how we're going to get there. The second lesson has a tentative title of Digital Dreams. In this lesson, we'll get at the why behind your desire to learn digital sketchnoting, maybe even identify the personal or professional dreams that you have and how your work with digital sketchnoting might enable those dreams. In the third lesson, I will help you pick your device if you don't already have one. This is where I'll give an overview of some of the options out there and the pros and cons of each. Then in the next lesson, I will help you pick the single app or multiple apps that you might want to use. Here, I'll highlight the ones that came up in our kickoff webinar, let you know the features of each, why you might go with one over another, so that you know which one you might want to start out with. Then before we get into specific techniques, I will encourage you to simply explore that app. Experiment with what exists there. Get a little bit comfortable with that environment in a very low pressure way, where you're not yet even sketchnoting necessarily. You're just exploring what that tool combination has to offer. With that as a solid starting point, we will then enter the techniques unit. We'll talk about the use of pens and brushes, how you might set those up in a way that you can use them efficiently, maybe develop different pens and brushes for different sketchnoting purposes. Then we'll talk about canvas size, how to think through your options there and pick a starting point that's good for you. We will also dig deep into the use of layers, what that might look like for sketchnoters, so that you can use those in a way that's helpful for you, but also in a way that doesn't make your sketchnoting process too complicated. We'll take a similar look at the zooming in and out options, just to help clarify when you do and when you don't want to use that feature. We'll also look at ways to integrate photos into your sketch notes, maybe just as a reference image, maybe as something that you actually include within the sketch note, and maybe as an anchor to the notes themselves, something that maybe is on one of your lower layers that you sketchnote on top of. After that, we'll talk about screen recording, the different ways that you can actually create create presentation materials from the app itself. And within the last lesson in this techniques unit, we'll talk about workflow, with an emphasis on the post-sketchnote workflow. What to do with your digital sketchnotes once you've completed them, since it is easy with digital artifacts to forget about them and they just sit on a hard drive somewhere. Then we'll transition to Unit 3, which is all about the specific applications of sketchnoting in general. But here we'll be looking at the specific opportunities that are available to us within the realm of digital sketchnoting. And those 3 applications that I talk about fairly frequently are learning, using this as a personal educational tool; problem solving, how you might use this individually or collaboratively to work through difficult, complex problems; and then also storytelling, how to use your digital device and the sketches that you create to communicate ideas with others more effectively. Then, with all of those kind of individual explorations in mind from those first 3 units, in the 4th unit here, you'll actually build your digital sketchnoting process. You will make some decisions about how you will use all of those features that we mentioned in Unit 2, decide which ones you won't use, so that you actually have a clear approach the next time you go to use this tablet and stylus tool combination to take some sketch notes. And that's what the next lesson within this unit will be all about: working the system that you created for yourself. Because once you've built that process, you'll need to see how it works in practice. Give it a go for a few times so that you get to know how it feels, so that it starts to become more and more natural. And then as you become more familiar with that particular process that you've built, then you can step back and reflect on how well it meets your needs, and then go through the process of refining your approach to digital sketchnoting, tweaking the use of this or that feature, and maybe occasionally overhauling your entire process, particularly when you maybe jump into a new application or a new setting. While you might find that there's a single digital sketchnoting process that works well for you in all settings, it's more likely that you'll develop custom processes for each of the different types of situations where you're using your sketchnoting skills. So that's what we'll bring together within that final unit. In addition to those webinar sessions, you'll also get to see so much good work that's already been shared by the folks who have signed up for this course. That's one of the things that I like about our current online learning platform, how easy it is for you to share your work and have conversations with other students. And what I'm up to now is this process of refining and producing the final versions of these lessons and resources. I'm taking the feedback that I got from that webinar workshop round, polishing things up a little bit, and later this year I will be publishing those final resources. A key thing I wanted to mention though is that you might not want to wait until that point to sign up. Because if you pick up digital sketchnoting before that final course launch, you'll save money either by picking up this single course at its early bird price, or you can get this course for free if you pick up any of Verbal to Visual's course bundles. So if you've had your eye on a couple of different sketchnoting courses that I offer, this might be a good time to grab one of those bundles. So over the next few months here, I'm going to be plugging away on that refinement and final production, and I look forward to sharing the final version of this course with you toward the end of the year. But as I mentioned, I encourage you to hop in now, take a look at all those webinar workshops, because there's a lot that you can learn already, not only from the lessons that I shared, but also from the follow-up conversations that we have after each instructional session, as well as the topics that come up in those office hours. I guarantee you'll learn a lot from the other course participants in addition to what you learned from me. So I hope you'll come hang out with us, and I look forward to seeing what you make with your digital sketchnoting skills. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Till then.